back to the Onyx Woman Network. This is our special Be Well, My Sisters segment, and we're talking about an issue that some say isn't talked about enough in our community, and that is living with AIDS in the black community. And with us we have Sheila Taylor, and we have Terry Fluker with the AIDS Planning Coalition, and he is the faith-based initiative.
Mm-hmm.
And I want to start with you by asking, for some folks who don't still know, what is HIV and AIDS?
HIV is a virus that causes AIDS, and according to your immune system and your T cell count and your viral loads, you can develop AIDS if you don't properly take care of yourself.
Okay.
Or get on medications.
Now, Sheila, what are some of the misconceptions about contracting AIDS?
Some of the misconceptions, the different ways that you can catch it, but the only way that you can catch AIDS is by body fluids.
Okay.
Vaginal, semen, blood, and breast milk.
Now, of course, as I began to look into this whole interview, like many in our community, it's almost uncomfortable. You say, well, what should I ask them? What are they going to talk about? How honest are they going to be? How direct are they going to be? And so I wanted to ask, there's an issue of asking how that you contracted.
I contracted by heterosexual sex from a man.
And so how are heterosexual women basically contracting sex that same way, or is there through drug or whatever?
IV drug use and sex.
Okay. I know in one of the articles that I read that it also mentioned the use of drugs. Does that kind of distort one's decision and make that more apt to happen, the combination of the two?
Of course.
And either one of you can elaborate.
Of course. Because when you're under a mind-altering chemical, you're not going to make a right decision.
So what has your experience been living with HIV or AIDS? Which one is?
HIV.
Okay, at this point.
Yeah, I've been diagnosed with HIV more than 10 years, really 14 years.
Okay.
And it was a struggle for me to get where I am today, and by the grace of God, He's given me strength to speak out and to encourage people to get tested. It has been a blessing in my life, really.
Oh, yeah? Okay.
Because I was living with HIV and didn't even know it. And I was very ignorant to HIV, the risk factors. And when I got tested, I was tested for HIV. I was HIV positive. So I was actually living it with it and didn't even know it until I got tested.
So when you didn't know you had it, but what irresponsible, I mean, what were you thinking back then, as many people are kind of thinking, that's for somebody else, I'm not worried about it, you know. What was your mindset?
I just didn't think that I was doing things that would even put me at risk for it, but I didn't even know what the risk factors were.
Did you really kind of know, but kind of put it back here in denial and say, I'll do my own thing right now, or that you really didn't know?
I had only heard of one person speaking out nationally about HIV after I got tested. Well, after he spoke out, then I got tested, which was Magic Johnson.
Okay.
Prior to that, friends, relative, nobody was talking about HIV in the early 90s.
So what happens the day someone says to you, when you take that test, you have HIV?
You're devastated. You're just totally devastated in the beginning. Like, how could this happen to me?
And then does your mind begin to process, to think back? I mean, all these questions like who, what day, what's going to happen tomorrow, 10 years from now? Is it just, the wires just start to...
You're all over the place. Why? How did this happen to me? Who did I contract this from? When this disease first came out, we were under the influence that it was just a gay white man's disease.
Sure.
We're not white, so why would it happen to us? Just a lot of things. For myself, I did have the information, but I wasn't a gay white man, so I really didn't think it would happen to me.
And so what's the first thing that you change about your life?
Well, when I began to get some acceptance with embracing it and understanding of my God, and then seeking support from the community, those that was servicing people that was living with HIV.
And so, Sheila, who's the first person you tell?
My mother.
And your mother says?
She was there for me. I have support from my family and friends from the beginning. Although everyone I know knows that I'm positive. You know, I have support. I haven't, God's grace and mercy, I haven't been through that part of being rejected, denied, ashamed to tell somebody, ashamed of it. I know that I didn't go to the Kaufman's and get it. Somebody gave it to me. And I try hard not to give it to nobody else, but to let Afro-American women know that this could happen to you too.
Now, you and I talked earlier, and you said that there are people who know they have it and don't tell the other person.
There is. There's people that live right here in Allegheny County and know that they're infected with this virus, and it's their own process, but they will not disclose.
Why do you think that is? Are they in denial or they just don't care?
Shame, guilt, fear, rejection. It's a whole lot of reasons why they won't do it, even though personally I think it's wrong. But right here in Allegheny County, there's people that's positive. Terry and I are not the only people in Allegheny County. I just want to put this out there. It's about 1,500 clients at the PAC clinic. That's the
Pittsburgh
AIDS treatment. Pittsburgh AIDS Treatment Center.
Okay. There has been a lot of controversy about how the churches are dealing with this. What's your opinion on that?
Well, it's important that the church do get involved because God is concerned about the whole body of individuals, the mind, the spiritual side, as well as the physical side. It has been a slow coming, even though it has been on the minister's desk. And we've been blessed to start some projects through the Southwestern Pennsylvania AIDS Planning Coalition to reach the churches through the Week of Prayer for the Balm in Gilead and doing HIV/AIDS church training. Now the question is, why don't a lot of them get involved? And why hasn't this been an issue at the top of the list when it comes to health issues, knowing that it has impacted the black community as well as African American women? And I do a lot of church trainings, but I don't do as many as I would like.
They're not embracing you?
They do. Some do and some don't. And it's, you know, when you talk about HIV and AIDS, you got to get real with the congregation. And we're not doing real church. You know, we're doing a lot of, you know, theatrical stuff and to make people feel good. And, you know, we don't want to step on feelings or really get real with the church, because when you talk about HIV and AIDS, you got to talk about sexuality. You got to talk about behaviors and choices.